The building at 7 Everett Lane was originally called Cone Automatic, and then it was called Cone Blanchard. They made machine tools for the auto industry, and it was a very important business for Windsor, and in fact the entire Connecticut River Valley in Vermont was lined with companies that did this kind of work. Unfortunately, in the 1980s, when the auto industry took a major downturn, a lot of the companies had no needs for these tools, these businesses anymore, and they wound up going out of business, unfortunately, and nothing ever came in to really replace it. So you had a company where people would live and die really at this firm. Like, for example, my dad worked there for 42 years, my mom worked there for 39 years. And this was a family tradition kind of in Windsor, and now it's gone, and unfortunately nothing's come in to replace it.
The Cone family sold out, and then it became Cone Blanchard.
Right.
And then that underwent another sale. That one underwent multiple sales before it finally went under.
When did it go under?
The chip for that are
Maybe around 85, 86.
like
Maybe a little after that, maybe in the late 80s, but and Goodyear just moved out.
Yeah.
You know, they stopped the whole. I don't know if they exported it to another country or they just stopped the entire. They used to make shoe heels.
I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the big industry here.
You know, it's easy to get sour on this town, but it's such a nice neighborhood. I mean, we all do stuff for each other, and
That's good.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just
I'd love to see this town make a great rebound.
It's a nice community.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's got its problems, but it's still a beautiful place to live, and Paradise Park, and
Yeah.
I mean, the river,
I
and
spent a lot of time at Paradise Park. I live right around the corner.
yeah, you live on
On
State
West State,
Street.
yeah. I used to take my bike, turn the county road, get to the bottom of the hill, take the right, go right into Paradise Park.
When I grew up in Windsor in the 1960s, Windsor was actually a pretty, it was an interesting town because you had two industries in town. You had Cone Automatic, which employed over 1,000 people, and then you had Goodyear, which made rubber shoe soles and also employed over 1,000 people. So out of about maybe 4,500 people in the town, almost half of them were employed by these two companies, and all the families in the town related to those two companies. And then sometime in the late 1980s, both of those companies went out of business, and it changed the town completely. It went from being a town where everybody was employed, everybody had a sense of community, to pretty much it was all lost. Houses started getting foreclosed upon. People didn't have anywhere to go. People left town. I think there's less than 3,000 people that live there now. The rest of Vermont has always done fairly well, always been pretty resilient, but Windsor just hasn't had that same type of resiliency. You add on top of that, they've had a ski area that has failed twice now and is currently out of business. And things haven't been good there really for the last 20 years, and they've really been struggling to find an identity. It's starting to come back now with some of the businesses on the north side of town. You've got Harpoon Brewery, you've got the Sustainable Farmer, you've got the new vodka company that's coming in, and Simon Pierce Glass. So there is a bit of a recovery going on, and you want to see that going forward. But what you want right now is you want to have something in the town. Right now, the edges of the town are starting to come back, but really still need to have the center of downtown Windsor come back. And right now, I'm still not seeing that, but hopefully it'll be there soon in the future. So when I went back to Windsor for my dad's funeral in 2007, that was probably the first time I had been there in 5 or 6 years, and I couldn't believe how much the town had changed. Main Street had become pretty much just a ghost town. There used to be stores in the middle of town. There used to be a place called Knapp's Lunch. There used to be a Newberry's. They actually used to have 3 grocery stores in the town. Going back there was one grocery store, one drug store. Most of the storefronts were empty, and those that weren't had businesses you could see were really struggling. This was not what I remembered growing up, and it was just very different going back to a town that really retained none of the identity that I remembered. It almost felt like a totally different place than what I grew up in. You'd go downtown on a Saturday morning, you'd see a whole bunch of people. There'd be a lot of people in town, people you knew. Now you go down there on a Saturday morning, there's hardly anybody around. Most of the people, if they have anything to do, they leave town. They go to one of the neighboring towns to buy anything. So until they figure out a way to turn that around, they're really not going to be able to make Windsor an important place that people want to come to anymore. This building is where my mother grew up. It was called the Block back then. I think it's got a new name now. It's actually gone through a period of time where it really became run down. What you're seeing now is actually much better than it was probably back in the 60s and 70s. So it's part of hopefully what will be Windsor's renaissance in taking the older buildings and making them improved and having people want to live there. This is one of the few new businesses in town. It's called Boston Dreams, and it's a little coffee and pastry shop. I actually went to high school with the owner of this shop. His name is Gary Husband. He and I were good friends growing up. He's never left town. He was one of the people who would like to see Windsor kind of come back. And he's got a real nice little shop here that focuses on Boston sports and real quality coffee and pastries. And hopefully more businesses like this open and can help the town recover.